Welcome to our third annual Mansfieldmas celebration, our evening at the end of the Michaelmas term to celebrate all that is creative and wonderful about Mansfield. You will see that I am not Ben Okri, but we do have Ben Okri beaming in a little bit later on. He will be between the last two pieces of music. But this is the evening when people read poems they like, poems they've written in our creative writing sessions with Kate Clanchy, who is up in the north of Scotland, but also sends her love and greetings, and our choir, and at one point acrobats. So when we have the acrobats, I think somebody is going to be coming to speak from Student Action for Refugees, which is what we will be collecting for this evening. So while the mats are being set up, somebody will come and explain that to you. And we also, this evening, are very pleased to welcome Mark Goldring from Asylum Welcome. Some of you may know that Mansfield, along with Somerville College, is one of the first two colleges of sanctuary in Oxford. We have a refugee scholarship, and we really try to encourage strong links between our college and the wider community in Oxford, including the very many people who are here seeking humanitarian protection. And this year, of course, in particular, are a lot of new people from Afghanistan. So I'm going to ask Mark just to say a little bit about Asylum Welcome, and then we will kick off with the programme, and I'm not going to introduce things between items, but we will just run through. The only two changes are that Nathan Walemba unfortunately can't come, so we won't have Nathan on the piano, but between the last two pieces of music, we will have a reading from Ben Okri. That will be Ben. Anyway, thank you all very much for coming, and Mark, nice to meet you.
Thanks, Helen, and good evening all. So it's barely a week since that terrible tragedy in the Channel where nearly 30 people lost their lives. The desperation of their journey reflecting the horrors from which they'd fled, but also reflecting the horrific journeys that so many refugees who never make it or even try to make it to Britain face as they travel across the world seeking sanctuary. Traumatic in a rather different way has been the journey of thousands of Afghans to the UK in the last few months with the fall of Kabul and the takeover of the Taliban. 200 of them currently staying in hotels around Oxfordshire, waiting for the next step in terms of their life and settlement in the UK. The good news is that the first from the hotels, who is actually an Oxford alumni working for the British government in Afghanistan, will next week be settled with support from the university in Oxford as one of the first resettled residents with long-term status here in the city. It's Asylum Welcome's job to support all of these people and many more. It might be our job, but it's our duty as a country, as a community, to actually reach out and offer from our position of privilege something of what we've got to give those people a new opportunity. And it's in that spirit that it's really welcome the steps that Mansfield has taken, especially in the last year, becoming a college of sanctuary, leading the way, offering scholarships, but also reaching out to create the right environment and engage with the wider civic community so that not only can we settle refugees, but we can actually offer them a welcome and an opportunity. And to do that, and also to fundraise for a refugee cause this evening, the Solidarity feels like a really powerful way to begin our approach to Christmas. I hope in that spirit I can lead off the proceedings this evening with a very short extract from probably the best known poem about sanctuary, but it's also about opportunity. And in my mind, Mansfield and the wider community that you represent this evening reflects the best of that. It's a poem called The New Colossus by Emma Lazarus, and I'm just going to read the last few lines. Keep, ancient lands, your storied pomp, cries she with silent lips. Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free, the wretched refuse of your teeming shore. Send these, the homeless, tempest-tossed, to me. I lift my lamp beside the golden door. Thank you for your support.
I have seen the sun break through to illuminate a small field for a while, and gone my way and forgotten it. That was the pearl of great price, the one field that had treasure in it. I realise now that I must give all that I have to possess it. Life is not hurrying on to a receding future, nor hankering after an imagined past. It is the turning aside, like Moses, to the miracle of the lit bush, to a brightness that seemed as transitory as your youth once, but is the eternity that awaits you.
This is a composition done during lockdown, so it's a great privilege to be able to do it in front of an audience, and particularly with Nathan on saxophone. It's supposed to evoke a jazz club in New York on a sort of relaxed evening when everybody's had a few drinks and is sort of enjoying the music. I don't really know much about New York, so this is going to be called Mansfield Nights. That's the title of the piece of music. We'll start by tuning up, and don't worry, that's not the composition. It's not one of those types of composition.
My name is Chantal. I'm going to read a poem that I wrote during one of the nonconformist writing workshops at Mansfield College. It's called No Cafes, and it's dedicated to my partner. There will be no cafes in this poem. I know too many people who read in them. There will be no coffee beans or milk pouring, or the in-your-face red of the logo above the bar. No old men, or students who write equations on tablets or notebooks. No music to keep them steady at work. No chatter that touches on the personal or philosophical. No poets, no listing of things sad or happy sad. No ascribed emotion to things like unfeeling rain or sun that fall as they please. Perhaps there will be clouds, or not. I am removing the weather. I've had enough of people asking how it's doing. In short, there will be no noise, no cafe. There may be a field on a hill, but there will be no scarlet or pink at sunrise, and the striking sunset is over. Not even bats seeking who knows who in the dark. Lucas, I have built you a poem with neither night nor day. I have got rid of time to stop it running away from us. Thank you.
Hi everyone, we're going to be playing Scarborough Fair for you all today. We're just going to tune up, so please bear with us. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Maya, and I'm going to be reading two poems tonight. The first one is very much a summer poem and is by me, and the second one is not by me and is much more seasonally appropriate. The sun touching the wasp, touching the sticky glass rim, touching the slotted table where we sit with our legs in the shade, touching our arms on the table, touching our pale hairs, our fingers cooling on the beer mat condensation, our friendship, a couple of glasses, a couple of round mouths, a couple of wasps drinking it in, a fingernail scraping the sun. And then the second one is by Robert Frost, and it's called Stopping by Woods on a Snowy Evening. Whose woods these are, I think I know. His house is in the village, though. He will not see me stopping here to watch his woods fill up with snow. My little horse must think it queer to stop without a farmhouse near, between the woods and frozen lake, the darkest evening of the year. He gives his harness bells a shake to ask if there is some mistake. The only other sounds the sweep of easy wind and downy flake. The woods are lovely, dark and deep, but I have promises to keep, and miles to go before I sleep, and miles to go before I sleep.
Solidarity is an international student-led charity fighting for long-term change in the refugee crisis. The way we do this is mostly through two things. We aim to raise awareness about the injustices faced by asylum seekers and refugees worldwide, but we also fundraise. So we're a charity that's a grant-giving organisation. So we raise money for a bunch of NGOs that provide legal aid, mostly to asylum seekers and refugees in Greece, and this year we also have one charity working in the West Balkans. So you can find out more about the NGOs that we give grants to on our website. There's some details on the back of the flyer. But mostly what they do is provide things like legal caseworkers, support throughout the asylum process, because what a lot of people don't realise is that the asylum process is an incredibly complex legal proceeding that a lot of asylum seekers go into without really knowing too much about what they need to sort of prove in the interview. A story that our executive director always tells is this guy who was he just had his asylum interview, and one of the volunteers in the refugee camps asked him, how do you think it went? And he said, she said, did you, prove that you were fleeing persecution? Because that's one of the things that you have to prove in order to gain refugee status, is that you have a well-founded fear of persecution. And he said, no, I didn't want them to think that I was vulnerable or kind of sponging off the state or anything. So I just told them that I wanted to work really hard and stay here. And so on a human level, you completely see why he said that, but 5 minutes with a lawyer would have shown him or just informed him what he needed to do in that interview and potentially changed the outcome of his decision and the rest of his life. So that's the work that Solidarity supports, is providing that information to people who are seeking protection. But the final thing that we do is empower the next generation of activists. We operate on regional teams at universities across the UK and in 10 other countries. So we've got a few of our reps here tonight. Many of them are at Mansfield, which we absolutely love. We're the Oxford team, which means that we do fundraising events and awareness raising events sort of in and around Oxford. And we also sell our iconic t-shirts. This is the most Christmassy version of one that I could find, with the red and white. But we do have some of our t-shirts on sale at the back, so do feel free to stop by, either just to talk more about Solidarity to us, or buy a t-shirt on your way out. We've got a range of colours and designs ranging from £10 to £12. Our new designs are all vegan, ethically made, organic. So it's really doing something good and looking good at the same time.
My name is Artemis. I am a first year English student studying here. And tonight I'm going to read you 3 poems, all of which are my own creation. I shall give the titles of the first 2 now. The first one is called Gone Never Gone, and the second one is called Oriel. I will not give the title of the third one, as I think it will become quite obvious. So, have you seen her? Have you seen her? She's around here somewhere. Have you seen her? Have you seen her? I saw her by the lake there. We always thought you liked her, or why did you style your hair in her glossy curls and satin ribbons if you never truly cared? And now she's gone, you can't go on. Your mind cannot forget her. You scribble and scrawl and sweat and sigh, but they say, she always did better. Have you seen her? Have you seen her? She's around here somewhere. Have you seen her? Have you seen her? She'll always be in your heart forever. For you, I will be the russet leaves that lie as soggy cornflakes in the gutters of a mellow Monday morning. Especially for you, I shall be the spirals of smog descending upon the iron spikes of the town. I will stumble over cobblestones in kitten heels to work. Stare out the long window at the shard of light that pierces the oozing, belching smoke. I shall be the laughter of the children playing in the street whilst the brown brick tenements collapse around them. That I shall be for you. and the black and white cat that rubs itself against your legs after the clang of typewriters and the jabber of typists has melted away into the alleyways. I shall be the rain that flooded the drains, the clock that cracked and broke, the wheezing kettle that in its own special way told you not to go out that night. This is the final poem. Focus! No, look. Focus. Caught your attention there, didn't I? A simple trick. A snap of the mind. It's easy, effortless even. Now doesn't that counter the point? Well, I can't. That's my problem. Whenever I sit down to write an essay, my mind goes blank. I can tell you the causes of the First World War, quote from Orwell's 1984. I can list the social ramifications of the Black Plague, but when it comes to class speaking, I'm awfully vague. Want to know the history of Manchester music? I know that too. I know 4,536 divided by 322. Want me to quote Jane Austen? That request I will be heeding. I declare, after all, there is no enjoyment like reading. Inspector Calls, is that what you desire? Gaulle said that the world would end in fire. Blood and anguish too, but who cares about all that? It needs to rhyme, which I think I've got it down to pat. Serotonin, oxytocin, endorphins, dopamine, chemicals of the brain, got that spot on me. I know the downfall of Ronnie and Reggie Cray. I'll talk about Keats and Yeats on a dreaded sunny day. I'll admire the pieces of your heart, even though I know full well that love will tear us apart. The facts, the figures, I even have the feelings. They form a miraculous picture. Yet why is focus so unappealing? But my brain goes, not today, bye-bye, as I try and I don't know why. I'll put this in an envelope maybe, a message in a bottle. Maybe someone out there will be able to tell me why my brain isn't working full throttle. Until then, though, I am left with one quandary. The question to end all questions, that you can do so well, and salutations to you all. But why can't I focus? That is all.
Agua mi sangre, aire mi aliento. Hello everybody. Sorry not to be there, but I'd like to share with you extracts from an essay of mine published in The Guardian recently called Existential Creativity. There is a time for hope, and there is a time for realism. But what is needed now is beyond hope and realism. This is a time when we ought to dedicate ourselves to bringing about the greatest shift in human consciousness and in the way we live. We ought to consecrate ourselves to bringing about a conscious evolutionary leap forward. No longer can we be the human beings we have been, wasteful, thoughtless, selfish, destructive. It is now time for us to be the most creative we have ever been, the most far-sighted, the most practical, the most conscious and selfless. The stakes have never been and will never be higher. What is called for here is a special kind of love for the world, the love of those who discover the sublime value of life because they're about to lose it. For we are on the verge of losing this most precious and beautiful of worlds, a miracle in all the universe, a home for the evolution of souls, a little paradise here in the richness of space, where we're meant to live and grow and be happy, but which we are, day by day, turning into a barren stone in space. So a new existentialism is called for. Not the existentialism of Camus and Sartre, negative and stoical in spirit, but a brave and visionary existentialism, where as artists we dedicate ourselves, our lives, to nothing short of redreaming society. We have to be strong dreamers. We have to ask unthinkable questions. We have to go right to the roots of what makes us such a devouring species, overly competitive, conquest-driven, hierarchical. We ought to ask questions about money, power, hunger. The scientists tell us that fundamentally there is enough for everyone. This earth can sustain us. We can't just ask the shallow questions anymore. Our whys ought to go to the core of what we are. Then we ought to set about changing us. We ought to remake ourselves. Somehow civilization had taken a wrong turn, and we collectively need to alter our destination, our journey. We can't drive ourselves to the brink of extinction a second time. If we survive this brink, if we pull ourselves back from this apocalypse that's waiting, then we have to find a global direction that is one of sustenance and justice and beauty for the whole earth and for all the peoples of the earth. This is the best and most natural home we're ever going to have. And we need to become a new people to deserve it. We're going to have to be new artists to dream it. This is why I propose existential creativity to serve the unavoidable truth of our times, and a visionary existentialism to serve the future that we must bring about from the brink of our environmental catastrophe. We can only make a future from the depth of the truth we face now. Thank you.
Thank you. So that's it. Thank you all for all the ideas and discussions and words and music and other kinds of creativity, existential and other, that you've shared this term. Thank you for everyone who performed and did that scary acrobatics, which was amazing, and read poems and wrote poems. Thank you all for coming. Thank you for coming to the Friday talks and other events this term. There will be more next term, more science, more politics, more music, and more creativity. So please come back. But in the meantime, have a very happy and restful and safe vacation and a happy new year.